But I still have a picture of that sign. We had a sign that said all convoys go the other way. Do not go through this in English and Arabic. And I get there and I just look as soon as I got to the gate and I look and I'm counting into the RPG holes in the wall. And I'm counting. I'm like, there's like about 6 RPG holes in the wall. And I can see PKC bullets marks are all in the wall. So we get there and it was like afternoon. And the ICDC pulled back to their base. We took over the front gate. And they told us this get hit twice a day.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean to get hit? They said, we get attacked at night. And in the mornings, we get hit by car bombs and suicide bombers because of the line of the recruits that comes in. I mean, it was like a 500-meter gate with walls and towers. And that's all you had. You felt it was easy to do. This is nothing compared. This is not a conventional war.
Sure.
So we held the gate. And it was around 7:30 at night. They attacked the gate with personnel. They had about maybe 8 PKCs.
Okay.
And we had one metal gate. Everything is a concrete barrier, like about 10 feet tall concrete barriers. And they really made us feel, Chris, that they are trying to break in. We literally slept behind the gate. It's where we all slept.
Sure.
So if they break the gate, we're taking this fight to the barracks.
Yeah.
So half of us slept, half of us were on shift, and we trained to actually put our gear and get it out. And when we saw that first attack, I told my soldiers at the time, I was a platoon sergeant, I said, don't even worry about putting your uniform on. I don't care if you come out of here in underwear.
Yeah.
Put your body armor on and get out, because I was like, I feel the pressure. 8
Sure.
PKCs being shot at you. I mean, a PKC, one PKC is not a joke. When you have 8 of them open on you, I mean, literally what I did, I lay down behind a concrete barrier and I just watched all these bullets fly. Like if you put your head up, you're pretty much getting smashed.
Yeah.
And their mission was hit and run. And that's what they did in Iraq. Hit and run. And their job actually was to keep us up, to disturb us, because the big hit comes in the morning around 6:30, 7 o'clock when the line is big outside. That's when they hit you with a car bomb or a suicide bomber. And the guy who was leading this resistance, his name is Colonel Hisham, who was actually a Republican Guard colonel who specialized in ambushes. He was trained in Russia during the Iran-Iraq War. He was actually breaking us psychologically. You don't get to sleep. You respond in the middle of the night. You're not going back to sleep. You're afraid. And in the morning, you get hit by a car bomb. I mean, look, how much energy can you have?
Yeah.
You're done. And I remember one of the first car bombs that blew up on recruits. I'm not exaggerating this. I think hundreds of people were dead immediately because there was a lot of traffic.
Sure.
And they brought a cement truck.
Yeah.
Cement truck full of C4. And it stopped in the middle of the traffic in front of the gate while the line of soldiers, the line of new recruits who are just applying to the Iraqi military, and blew up. And at the time I was sleeping in my room and I was off shift because I have done the night shift before. And when it blew up, I actually was sleeping on a double bunk. I was on the top. When it blew up, all I remember when I wake up, I was falling from the top to the ground. And that's how powerful. I felt the wall next to me was about to fall on me. Wow. I swear it felt like an atomic bomb just went off. And I was like, this is not a car bomb. This got to be something.
Yeah. Huge.
And I just got out and all I see is smoke. And I hear people screaming. And when I got out and I responded to it, I had my body armor and my shirt, my Kevlar. And at the time, I put my gun on the side because I'm trying to distinguish where my soldiers were and where are the civilians and the people that are in the cars that are dead. And I can hear like very little screaming of people. You couldn't tell where the dead and where the injured were.
Sure. Yeah.
And you come to carry someone who's been blown up by, I don't know how many pounds, tons of C4. And that's the scary part. Imagine someone, all of their joints, all of their body parts is just dislocated and they're really hanging by the tissues.
It's like jelly. Honestly, it's
It
like
is.
picking up a
It's
big jelly, a
and
human jelly
and
form.
imagine the psychological
Yeah.
decision you had to make to touch that person.
Yeah.
And I also remember I tried to carry somebody that his foot was in my face. Like his foot was
Yeah.
turned upside down on his knees and it was in my face and I couldn't understand it. And we put him on pickup trucks trying to take him to the hospital. Truly, I don't know how many people made it. A lot of people were dead.
Well, you're still young too, right? What,
Oh
18,
yeah, I was
19?
18 years old. And I literally was disgusted with the human grease that was on my body. I mean, the smell when you get out, and I can tell you, there's no war. There is nothing smells worse than a burned human being. And I went and I started throwing up. I took off all my clothes, all my equipment, everything, one bag. And I was just sat in my barracks and I was like, this shit is real. This is going to be bad. This is not going to be any better. 2005 is not going to be a better year in Iraq.
Yeah.
Because 2004 is already the shit. So the focus was to actually focus on the new recruits who are joining the Iraqi military, to discourage Iraqi people from joining the Iraqi military. And I went in and my commander called me to his office and he said, there is 25 dead bodies in Haifa Street, in the end of Haifa Street, right under the bridge. These are people who filled an application. The driver of the public transportation drove them through Haifa Street. They were not from Baghdad. And they executed all of them and they laid the bodies on top of one another.
Wow.
And he said, you're taking a platoon and you're going there to pick up the bodies, take them to the morgue where their families can pick them up. I mean, it sounds like an easy mission to do.
I know Haifa Street. That's not an easy. You got to go all the way up north. Yeah, that's
when
wow.
You know, you see it into like
Wow.
You know, Al-Kalani Square, then Haifa Street starts, and that's where Purple Heart Valley is, and they put the bodies right towards the end, right by the river. So I'm looking at my lieutenant and I said, "Hey, what do you think this shit is? This they put the bodies all the way down on the end. They almost making us feel like they know we're coming to get the bodies.
Well, they're trying to draw you in, man.
Draw you
they're
in.
Drawing you to the dead end.
So my lieutenant goes, you know what? Let's just pick the bodies and get out of the other way. Don't come back the same way. I said, okay, let's do that. So we went in and I got in to the end of the bridge and we parked our vehicles at the high ground, and you have to go low ground like a beach sand, get under the bridge. And there was buildings right in front of you. The one weird thing I will never forget, as soon as we got to Al-Kalani Square, there was not one human being in that road. Quiet.
Yeah, that's.
And I know what that means when they're quiet. And you couldn't see anybody. I was like, there's no homeless cats. There's nothing. It's just not silent. So we drove and we got there. We went down. We parked the vehicles and we pushed all our PKCs literally towards the buildings. And we went down. And literally, as we went down, we see the bodies are laid right on top of another. Young guys between the age of 22 to like 17 years old, laid on top of one another, shot in the head. And literally, as soon as I turn around to look at the vehicles to figure out how we're going to carry the bodies up the hill, the first RPG flew into one of our trucks. And as soon as that RPG hit the truck, the amount of fire that opened from the buildings, they were all hiding behind the waiting for us to take down that one hole. And the point of that ambush that day was designed by Sayyid Hitcham himself, was actually to capture an Iraqi soldier in uniform, because killing recruits was not scary enough. The point was to get one of those guys in uniform so it can show the Iraqi people this is what could happen if you join. And me and my lieutenant got separated in two different groups. I went into one bridge column. He went under another. And the fight continued for about an hour and 45 minutes.
Did you have any comms with any army, with any U.S. Army?
Yeah, no. We have comms with our QRF.
With your QRF, but no U.S. Army support.
No. So usually you have a QRF that's ready in the base, that's ready, and that's normal.
Yep.
And it's just another platoon.
Yep.
So immediately, once that happened, I immediately dismounted the QRF, which was ready to go, left the gate,
Sure.
which is, it takes them about maybe 10 minutes to get to me. Not even. If they're flying fast, they can
Yep.
get there sooner.
Yep.
So I called a QRF, and in my head, this is going to go down for about 5-6 minutes, and it's going to stop once the QRF come over. And as we started pulling down, I saw my guys were getting dropped one after another. And what it was a sniper that had about 5-inch hole in an apartment building facing us. And I have a picture to this day, Chris, of it. It's a 5-inch hole. That's big. And he had his barrel right out. And we are in the low ground. He has the high ground.
So did you see the muzzle flash or did you see the barrel first? What did you see?
We saw his flash because he didn't have a suppressor.
Okay.
He was using a Tabuk sniper rifle.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we noticed that there was a sniper, obviously on the high ground, because
Sure.
my guys were getting shot in the liver, not in the front, in the liver.
Under
There's
the
no
armor.
plates, and he was intentionally shooting them in the liver. So my buddy actually got shot in the liver, and the bullet went out from his other side. So
That's
when the
bad.
bullet went out, this was done. He didn't live for like minutes, and then I
liver-
tried to put every medical treatment in the world to stop the bleeding. It was
No,
it was
liver,
like it's
liver's
a
a kill
PKC
point.
bullet. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally it's a PKC bullet. That's how big it is. It's a higher caliber, and when it goes out of the body, you're done. There's no way out. And I stayed behind the barrel, and I started hearing screaming in the radio, but it was not my lieutenant. It was not the other squad that was with me. It was actually my QRF.
QRF was getting hit.
Screaming. And I kept asking a QRF, are you coming in the way? Are you getting close? Are you close? We're getting pushed in because the more fire coming at us. And the last thing I heard in that radio, it was the voice of the captain who was in that QRF. And he said, I think I have 16 to 17 of my guys have been shot. I mean, total people, he has about 25 guys.
Sure.
And he said, I have 3 bullets in my back. And that's what he said to me. He said, I'm sorry, I am turning around. I'm going straight to the hospital. And I never heard from him again. And at that point, I knew that we were not leaving out of there. Our only hope in that fight was the American military to do something about this, if they could. So what they did, actually, they let us in. They placed another group. Any QRF coming, they know the QRF will be coming, and they placed barrels like IDs in the road. So there will be no QRF, American or Iraqi, will make it in. They'll have all the time in the world to run us out of our ammo.
Yeah.
And just walk us one after another. At the time, I lost communications with my lieutenant. The crew that I was with have lost about 7 to 8 guys. We had a little stairs under the bridge. So I tried to take a high ground. We were trained, if you were fighting in the low ground, try to retake the high ground so you can see what's above you. So I sent about 3 guys in a separate times to take the stairs under the bridge to go up the bridge so they can cover for us and we can pull out. The 3 guys I sent got laid down in the stairs, got killed right in it. The sniper eliminated him as soon as they got on the stairs. They had literally a sniper on it, knowing exactly we would take that move. And it was the 3 dead bodies of my soldiers.
So is this
on that stairs.
Was this a second sniper or was
Second
it the
sniper.
same one? Okay.
Second. So you have one, if you get out of the column, if you get out of your cover, you're done. And you have one, if you try to take a high ground, you're over. And the river is right behind you. So your enemy in the front, the river is behind you, and you can't take the high ground. My dream at the time is to get above the bridge. And I sat in there, and I ceased-fired. I looked at all the other guys. So at the time, the Iraqi military was not locals. It was actually a mix of Kurds, Yazidis, people from over different background. I had at least about 6 to 7 Kurds. Half of my platoon did not speak Arabic. I communicated with them by hand movement. So I had a Kurdish guy who had a PKC in his hand, who spent his whole life fighting the Republican Guard in the north.
Sure.
He just looked at me, and we just ceased-fired, me and him. And we all stopped fighting, and we just went silent. And they stopped firing at us too. And that's when Sayyid Hisham got on the radio and started talking to me in my own comm. And he said, you're Iraqis. We're not going to kill you. We're going to let you go home. Just put your guns down and come out of the column. And at the time we turned off our radios, we know what the next move was. We know we were going to get beheaded in national TV.
Yeah.
The Kurdish guy and I talked, and we said, look, we're going to cease fire. We're going to keep our ammo. And we made a rule, 15 meters rule. If they come at us within 15 meters, we are doing single shots. We are not shooting anywhere. Single shot. We got a PKC that will push any pressure on us. And we're not going to run out of ammo because clearly they're trying to get us to do that.
Yeah.
So we did that, and they figured out what we were doing. They started pressuring us harder and harder. At the time, the U.S. military immediately found out what was going on. They saw the Iraqi QRF get smoked. The guy who actually led that QRF goes by the name Lieutenant Jeff Morris, who also actually wrote a book. It's called Legion Rising. And he talks actually about the ambush from the outside in his book. So Jeff was actually responsible for Haifa Street. This was his sector. He knew the game. He knew exactly how they were operating. So Jeff actually sent, and he actually filmed it. He filmed in video the whole thing.
Was that Jeff? Was that first Cav? Was that the Steel Dragons?
Yeah,
because they manned Little Assassin's Gate, right? Right out there. Yeah,
that's him.
I know those guys. Yeah.
So actually, Jeff sent 2 Bradleys to the front of the line where they were all setting their ambush to prevent any QRF, and they pretended to trying to break in, while 2 other Bradleys turned around and went from the other side.
The other side, yeah.
So when I was actually fighting, the first thing I noticed, it was the Bradley coming above me, and they opened the 125 cannon on the sniper location.
The Bushmaster, they just
started. And then when I saw all this support coming through me, and then as I got up, I felt like my morals were back. My morality was back. I got out of it, started shooting, started closing at them, and I felt a rocket went right literally by my head and hit the building. And I literally knew, and I was like, did some like Navy SEAL come out of the river and shot somebody? Like, where did this shit come from? And here's what it was. It was an Apache.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, Hellfire.
That was actually miles away. But these idiots didn't know that Apache had the technology to see you from further distance. And they shot a rocket. So the rocket came by my head, like it flew up over me. And I was like, did any of my soldiers have an RPG they didn't tell me about this whole time? Like, what's going on? And I turn around, and then immediately you see the RPG with its tail up on the middle of the river coming behind you. And that's truly when they all ran away. And I immediately stopped. I was shot to the left knee. I had a grenade shrapnel to the left knee. I had a shrapnel hit me to my right eye on my eyebrows. And then I just looked, and I was like, how many guys did we lose? Like in my head, I was like, lost maybe 6, 7 guys. And I start counting. These are only the guys that I lost. I don't know where my lieutenant is. So I go to try to find where my lieutenant is. I see dead guys, but I don't see the body of the lieutenant. So I'm assuming he's still alive. And during the whole firefight, I heard a lot of screaming, Allahu Akbar, screaming. I thought they were actually attacking. Why they were using this, they weren't. They actually have captured the lieutenant alive.
Where did he go? How did the lieutenant, what the hell did he?
So he ran out of ammo.
And was he really far away from you? I mean,
he was far away. I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him. He was completely behind a different column.
Okay.
So he ran out of ammo, and they captured him, killed everybody around him, and walked him up the hill. We didn't see him. And they tied him to the traffic light right in front of the bridge and beheaded him. So when Jeff Morris opened his Bradley to get out, to be dismounted out of the Bradley, the first thing went in his face was the body of my lieutenant. And Jeff tells me, when me and Jeff, talked about it, Jeff said this was the most horrific thing he ever saw in his life.
Yeah.
It's a body, no head, in uniform, tied up to a traffic light.
And it's
fresh.
It's fresh. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's fresh, man.
It's a fresh, and it's Jeff was completely traumatized by it. And they got out, they saw this, and they went down, they saw us, and we were all injured. Not one of my guys were actually completely fine. Everybody was injured and shot somewhere. I counted at the time, and I realized there was only 9 of us still alive. And when I went and counted, there was about 18 of them were gone, were killed. So when I got out, this was the biggest massacre in 2004. And I got out, I got up the hill. I was helped by American soldiers from the first scabs getting up there. I got back to the base. Everybody went to the hospital. I went and got patched up. And they said, look, the shrapnel missed your eye. You were lucky it hit your eyebrows. And you have one in the knee, a shrapnel. We're not going to bother taking it out. We're just going to patch it and drink some water. And that's what they tell you in the American hospital.
It's drink water. Drink water, take Motrin, you'll be fine.
And that's literally, I was like, it's a grenade shrapnel. It's fucking grenade. It's this Russian grenade shrapnel. And they're like, drink water. And I'm like, I'm not going to pee this shrapnel in the bathroom. This is my knee. So
typical.
They told me to go, and I went back to the base. And I literally, Chris, when I walked into the gate, I saw people in civilian clothes, soldiers of mine, who were in the base, walking out of the gate.
I heard about that. I heard about that.
This was honestly, this broke me more than the whole firefight. Is you watch people give up, and they were walking out with their bags. And I know they have kids. I mean, at this age in my life, I don't look at them the same way I looked at them back then. At that time, I look at them as cowards. I said, you're just walking out because they hurt you, they injured you, and you're done. You're walking out of this. And I went and I sat literally with my head down in my barracks room. The guy that slept right under my bed didn't come with me that day to the barracks. He died right on Haifa Street. And I was sitting in a barracks room where 3 other guys were with me in that room, and they were not with me that day. It was just me coming back to this room. And one of my NCOs opened the door, and he said, they're taking us to the Ministry of Defense. The Minister of Defense wants to meet us, and he wants to give us some extra money, and we're all getting promoted. And at the time, my command sergeant major have ran out.
Oh, they left.
They left. My command sergeant major literally heard what I was going through, saw the QRF getting smashed, and didn't want to be sent next, so he left.
Yeah.
So I came in, the unit, half of the unit is gone. I'm sitting down, and I'm thinking in my head, literally, Chris, I'm like, if I go home right now, what would I do? If I go back to my neighborhood, some bath party member is going to come over and beat my ass, or it's going to behead me, or it's going to do something to me, or I'm going to sit here and they're going to injure the shit out of me. They're going to kill me eventually. I'm going to eventually get captured. And here I thought 2005 was going to be a great year, but I was in 2004 and I'm already giving up. I'm already done. So I was like, I'm just going to deal with it day by day. And I got in the car in the convoy and I went to the Ministry of Defense, and the Minister of Defense promoted me to a command sergeant major. So I went from a platoon sergeant to a command sergeant major in about an hour. I got my rank. My paycheck jumped in immediately.
Sure.
And he gave us like 50,000 Iraqi dinars at the time, was equal like nothing, $100 basically. We basically donated that to the people that died.